Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and this is Soft Flow Yoga. This is a 30-minute yoga practice. So for our practice, we're going to focus on lunging. So some nice stretches, really particularly focusing on the hip flexors or the front of the legs. We're going to do a deep lunge together. So you might want to use some props. I do have a bolster here. We might use that, but maybe not, but I like to have it handy. I am going to set it to the side. Blocks will also come in handy. So I have two yoga blocks here. This could also be some hardbound books. And you'll also need a blanket, something soft that you can sit on and kneel on here. All right, we will start in seated just to get into our breath and our bodies as we begin our practice together. So first, just sit up nice and tall. We're just going to take some deep breaths. Inhale deeply to fill your lungs. You can exhale through your mouth if you'd like. Nice. Two more times. Inhale. Fill up the lungs. Exhale. One more. Very nice. And just hold in stillness for a moment as we continue to tune into our bodies, feeling the breath as it moves through your body, and even listening to the sound of your breath. A wonderful way to feel this connection with self. Being more present, more connected, more aware. Let's take 3 more breaths. Very nice. And just slowly take your time as we transition to our hands and knees. Here's where you might want to use your blanket just for a little softness for your knees and your hands and to protect the joints. So right here, cat and cow pose. You'll inhale and just tip the chin up, looking forward, a little arch of the back like so. That's cow. Exhale, round it out. So tucking the pelvis under. Feel your belly button pull up towards spine, chin to chest, and there's a rounding of the back. This is cat. Inhale, reverse it, look forward. There's that back bend feel. Exhale, round it all out. Let's do 2 more. Moving at your own pace. One last time. And when you're complete, just return to stillness in this neutral tabletop posture. Now your focus is directly down, maybe between your thumbs. You can even have your eyes closed. Just want to be sure your neck feels long. All right, we're going to crawl off the blanket here. We'll set it to the side for a moment, but keep it handy because we will be using that again. Return to hands and knees. Now, if your hands or wrists happen to be directly underneath your shoulders, that's perfect, but we're going to realign them as we get ready for downward facing dog. Let's step the hands forward, and as you step them forward, be sure to spread out your fingers pretty wide. Do both hands, and you'll even grip the mat a little bit with the fingertips. As you lean into the hands or press the palms into the ground, you'll open up the palms. They also need a stretch. And with this pressure, you'll feel this strength and length in your arms. Let's tuck the toes and do one more cat-cow. Inhale, tip chin up. Exhale, round. There's cat and cow. One more time. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Hold cat pose this time. Make sure strong hands are pressing into the floor with straight arms, lifting the knees. Send your hips into the air. Chest sinks naturally between the arms. There's down dog. You might need to tiptoe forward just a tiny bit to adjust your balance in this posture. I also like to take my hands slightly wider for a little bit more space for my shoulders. One more breath. And we'll take a walk or several steps up to the top of the mat until we're in forward fold right here.
Inhale, rise up halfway. Just slide the hands up to the shins or knees. We'll hold here. Make sure your feet feel solid on the ground. Slight bend in the knees. Feel the strength of the supportive legs here in this half forward fold. And you're about parallel to the floor. Let's now shift the weight into the heels, getting ready to stand. Bend your knees to lower your hips. You can place hands on thighs, push into the thighs. Just come up a little bit until we're in chair pose, a little supported chair pose with the hands on thighs. And then continue standing, so we're just straightening the legs until you're nice and tall. And then inhale, reach both arms all the way up. Exhale, arms down to your side. Very nice. Little roll of the shoulders here. Roll them backward a few times and then forward. Very good. All right, we're going to move through our half salute to the sun, then into a full sun salutation. These are just wonderful ways to warm up the body. We are going to be paying attention to the energy in the legs and what's happening in the legs since we are doing lunges today. Standing in mountain pose, toes are pointing forward. You also want to have your palms facing forward. That'll get the arms to rotate out a bit. That will help with nice posturing. Here we go. Inhale, extend both arms up. Exhale, spread your wings, fold forward as we swan dive forward, hinging at the hips. Bend your knees as you make your way down towards toes. You might touch your toes, or your hands might even land at your shins. If you go all the way down, maybe take a peek between the knees towards the wall behind you. Inhale, slide up to the shins with the hands, extending the spine, rising halfway. On the exhale, you're welcome to stay here or slowly melt back down and just noticing what's happening in the legs as you fold. You can pause at any point. I'm going to go all the way down until I feel this heaviness, which we sometimes call ragdoll. You're just kind of hanging heavily forward. I'm also shifting my weight slightly towards toes, gripping the mat with my toes. I'll feel a little bit more engagement in the legs. Nice stretch through the backs of the legs. And you can see the knees are still very bent, but I still feel this through the legs here. Shifting the weight back into the heels. Bend the knees to lower the hips. Lifting the upper body. Once again, I'm bringing hands to thighs. Push, hold in our supported chair pose for a second. Keep driving the heels into the floor, standing up tall, and with an inhale, reaching both arms all the way up. Big stretch, nice. Exhale, arms return to your side. All right, let's go right into our full sun salutation, moving from warrior one into warrior two. We're going to pause in both of those postures so we can pay attention to what's happening in the legs, particularly the hip flexors, because that's getting us ready for those deep lunges we're doing in our practice. Here we go. Inhale, extend both arms up. Exhale, swan dive. So spread your wings and slowly fold. Imagine you're sitting back into an imaginary chair. Chest comes down towards your thighs, releasing head, neck, and shoulders. Inhale, slide hands up to the shins or knees, extending through your spine. Exhale, fold all the way down. You need to get low enough so you can place hands on the mat out in front of you and walk or step the feet back until you're in plank pose. If your hips are a little high here, just shift to lower, just to about shoulder levels. Good. Take a breath in. Exhale, bend your knees a little, send your hips into the air. A shortcut to downward facing dog. And you're very welcome to do that every time in your yoga practice. I'm adjusting my feet. I tiptoed forward a little bit, took my hands wider, chest sinking between the arms, keeping the bend in the knees that allows my hips to lift a little higher. Now, I'm going to step my left foot to center of the mat, pick up right foot, inhale, extend right leg back, reach for the wall, doesn't have to lift high. Exhale, step right foot up to the top of the mat, landing behind the right wrist. Turning left heel to the floor. See how there's no weight back there? I'm putting weight, I'm shifting back significantly, putting weight into that back foot. Now there's no weight in my hands. I can rise to fingertips first to help extend spine. Free the hands, reach forward, inhale. Rising up to warrior one. On the exhale, I'm just going to bring my arms down just for this so we can pay attention to the legs. Right knee and toes are pointing forward.
Left leg is slightly turned out. We're getting a light hip flexor stretch. This is going to be a little bit more significant in a moment. Okay, we're going to add something here. So join me. We're going to inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge forward just a little bit. Bring hands to thigh, this front thigh. Shifting weight into this front foot so I can lift that back heel. I'm going to turn this left leg in. Okay, so now all 10 toes are pointing forward. I'm pushing into thigh to help rise back up, moving into what's called high lunge. It puts a significant lengthening and strengthening quality in this upper thigh, hip flexor region here. We can add more by inhaling and taking the arms up into the air. So we move from a warrior 1 to a high lunge. Then we're going to open this to a warrior 2. So inhale, reach up. Exhale, let's turn that back leg. Get the heel on the floor. The whole leg is turning out now. You'll turn sideways. Arms come down to parallel. Warrior 2. Right knee still pointing forward. Let's reach out, maybe reach out a little bit more here. Rotate the arms, really getting into the hips. Reaching high and low. I like to even take the left hand overhead a little bit, getting more extension and stretch through the left side of the body. Couple more breaths. Very nice. Let's inhale. Exhale carefully, turn, fold, bring hands down to the floor. Once again, rise up onto your tiptoes behind you, all 10 toes pointing forward. It just realigns the hips. Push firmly into the floor with the hands, strong arms. That way we can slide this right foot back. We're in plank pose. Remember, hips are about shoulder level. Let's take another shortcut to down dog. Bend the knees, send the hips into the sky. Adjusting the feet so we don't slip, and adjust the hands. Let's do those lunges on the other side. We're stepping right foot to center. Pick up left foot. Inhale, extend left leg straight back. We're not concerned about the height. It's about the extended leg. On the exhale, we're stepping through. Left foot lands behind the left wrist. Right heel to the floor. Remember to shift the weight back into that foot so it's well planted. Rise up to fingertips to help extend spine. Free the hands, reach forward. Inhale, reach up both arms. This is warrior 1. But the exhale, we're taking the arms down, staying in the leg pose, but just relaxing the arms for a moment, checking in with the legs. Left knee and toes pointing forward, right leg slightly turned out, right hip flexor stretch. All right, we're going to move to that high lunge. Inhale, extend the arms up. Exhale, hinge forward just a little bit. We're going to bring hands to thighs. This is really just for support. We're going to shift the weight into this front foot so I can pick up that back heel. Turn toes forward. It's an inner rotation of the leg. Take some balance here. See if you can maintain that balance as we now get tall right here. We're going to get even taller by reaching both arms up. This is our high lunge. Remember, we're working this right hip flexor, upper thigh. This is basically the deep lunge we're going to be getting into, but in a different sensation. Okay, but get ready. Opening to warrior 2. Inhale. Exhale. Continue opening up that right leg by planting the heel into the floor. You'll turn sideways, arms to parallel. Left knee and toes are pointing forward. Just check in. And then side angle. Reach out. I like to go a little bit more. Rotate the arms. Left hand does not need to touch the ground unless you're able to. It can easily just rest here. I have my left arm braced against the inner left leg. I'm sending right arm overhead just to get this nice right side body stretch. Breathing in. Exhale, a careful turn. Fold, bring the hands to the floor. Rise up onto tiptoes. Realigning the hips. Push hands into the floor, strong arms. Slide left foot back. Plank pose. I'm going to briefly bring knees to the floor and sit back into hero pose. Alrighty, now we're going to get ready for these deep lunges. We're going to add a little, what I call an obstacle course, okay? So I'm going to bring my blanket back in. I'm going to scoot back a little bit, bring my blanket back in, and right here, folded. just like this, and kind of set back. It's just right in front of my knees. We're going to return to down dog. And the obstacle course is, as we move into the lunge, you're going to step over the blanket. Okay, it's just a little game I like to play. So hands are out front. Again, if the hands are underneath the shoulders, we're just going to step the hands forward a little bit here. Tuck toes. Let's do cat-cow again. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Hold cat. Tuck toes, lift knees, send hips into the air. There we are, adjusting the feet and adjust the hands. Now, if that blanket is too far forward, you can also slide it back a little bit, okay? I'm stepping left foot to center so I can pick up right foot so I have good balance, extending right leg back. Exhale, stepping over the blanket. That's our obstacle course, landing behind the right wrist. Now, we're not rising. We're actually bringing this left knee down to our blanket here. I'm shifting the weight back a little bit so I can rise. So I have a right angle in my front leg, right angle in my left leg. I'm going to lean back a little bit. I'm going to move that right foot way forward. I went right out to the edge of my mat, so it changes this angle. I'm going to place my hands on my thighs. Now you might need your blocks. So I have my blocks kind of nearby. But I'm placing hands on thigh right here, pushing down gently just to encourage the lengthening of spine. Lift up. That's an inhale. Then exhale, start to slowly shift forward from here, the hips. And you'll see you'll shift and your right knee in this case will start to stack over the ankle. The deeper you go, you'll get into this left hip flexor. Now, I'm not going to go too deep. I could go lower and deeper, but I found for my body, that doesn't actually help me. Alrighty, I don't need to go that far. So that's why you might want to use some blocks. If you go low or even stay up high, you can use some blocks or use some books or a chair or a wall even, just to help support. So I'm just going to bring in my tall blocks over here. I have my right hand on my right thigh, left hand on the blocks, just to support this lunge. So this is our focus today. Some nice deep breaths. Remember, you are welcome to maybe get a little deeper. I'm going to go a tiny bit deeper, but not much. Again, sometimes, even though you might have the flexibility to go deep, it could be, for some folks, an overstretch. You might be overstretching. But if you're a little less flexible, this might be just enough to get the stretch and strengthening that you want. All right, 2 more breaths. So we are holding these postures. You can really feel this in the legs. And I'm just going to push to kind of rise back up and out of that deep lunge. Taking both hands, I'm kind of swinging over to my left side and coming down a little bit here. So I can actually swing this right leg back onto the blanket here. I'm on hands and knees. Just going to move my blocks to the side. And since we're on hands and knees, let's just do 2 breaths, cat and cow. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Very nice. You can stay in this cat pose, tuck toes, step hands forward, lift knees, send hips to sky, down dog. Same thing other side, setting up for our deep lunge. First, stepping right foot to center for balance, picking up left foot, inhale, extend left leg back. Exhale, step over the obstacle, that's our blanket right there. We're setting the right knee down. I'm pulling the weight back so I have light hands so I can rise up. Initially, we have right angles in the legs. I'm leaning back a little bit, just taking the weight off that foot so I can move this foot way out front, because when we lunge, the knee and ankle will realign. Hands on thigh, pushing gently into the thigh. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, slowly send hips forward. Take your time, but you're going to be working the right leg. I can already feel it. I'm going to pause right here. I can already feel that stretch. So maybe you'll find the initial stretch, pause for a moment, even send breath into this space. Nice oxygen and blood flow. Holding, making space, and then maybe going a little deeper. So you don't want to go too deep too quickly because that might aggravate the body. We certainly don't want that in our practice. So I'm just bringing in my blocks for my right hand so I can just kind of settle into the pose. So I have my left hand on my thigh for support and my right hand on my blocks and just settling in. We are holding the pose, but remember, you can move out of the pose if you need to. You can go deeper, but if you do go deeper, take your time. Do notice if you feel like you might be overstressing. Okay, if you feel like your body is starting to shake a little bit too much or it feels strenuous, then you might want to invite the body to pull back. Let's take 3 more breaths. Alrighty, I'm gently, slowly just pulling out of that deep lunge, moving my blocks to the side. I'm going to bring my hands over to this right side down to the floor so I can swing this left leg around and back. Return to hands and knees. Right here, cat and cow. Inhale, cow, that's the back bend. Exhale, round it out into cat. I'm going to do that a few more times. Because in a way, doing that deep lunge, even though we are working the legs, it creates a bit of a back bend feel. So if there's a little tenderness in the low back, you might want to do something like this, cat-cow, just to get that mobility back. And we'll do one more pose on the floor as a forward fold to get a little counter pose to these back bend feels. Okay, one more. Inhale, exhale, and then just pause in this neutral tabletop posture. I'm crawling off the blanket, moving that to the side. I'm actually going to crawl forward a little bit, sit back briefly in hero. Off to the side we go. Swing the legs around to the front. Just want to make sure you have space behind you so you can roll down onto your back. As you roll back, go ahead and bring knees into chest. So this is the pose. So it's a forward fold, but we're just lying on our backs, hugging the knees in. And that should bring some relief to the entire back. If you'd like, as you draw the knees in, feel free to even lift head and chest up towards the knees just to create a little bit more curvature in the spine. I'm going to set the head back down. I also like to add some movements here. I create this figure 8 shape formation with the legs here. That helps to release any tension in the low back and hips. I also like to circle the feet to get into the ankle joints and even wiggle the toes. Let's take a twist. Let's take both knees over to the left side. Extend right arm straight up and then out to the right side to help guide the body into a nice twist. You can also modify these if this feels like an over rotation for the spine. What you may do, I have my bolster, which is probably the closest thing I can grab here. It's a little big, but you can place it either between the knees, something like this, okay? Or even underneath that bottom leg, so you don't over rotate. So this is quite nice. Yeah, I think I'll do this. That's perfect. So it doesn't feel like I'm over rotating in my back. I can actually hold this pose perhaps a little longer. Don't feel overstretched. So even if you're quite flexible, always a nice idea just to have some props nearby. Blankets, a block, a pillow, something soft, a cushion, maybe a bolster, even a yoga strap. Some of our practices we use yoga straps. So props are just nice to have around. 2 more breaths. Let's go ahead and bring the knees back up to center. Pause for a moment. And while I'm paused, let's see if I can get this bolster onto the other side. There we go. And then rotate to the other side. So knees are going down to the right, landing on the bolster there so I don't over rotate. And extending the left arm up and then out to the side. Now, sometimes the arm might not make it to the floor. And so you may want to place something underneath the arm. But in this case, since my legs aren't going all the way down to the floor, I can get my arm to the floor. Then I can just settle in. This feels quite nice. So these can be very relaxing poses, almost relaxing into a stretch. Let's take 3 more breaths here. When you're ready, slowly and carefully return to center. You might just hug the knees back in towards body. Go ahead and set the feet down onto the floor. Start to feel the body relax here. And then extend the legs out onto the floor, just moving into Shavasana. This is just one option for your last pose. Very relaxing, but sometimes lying flat on your back on the ground may not be the most comfortable thing to do. If you need extra padding, feel free to maybe place a blanket underneath you or even just underneath your head or knees. And since I've got my bolster here, here's another option. Just taking the bolster or a big pillow or a cushion or something and place it underneath the legs so the knees are slightly bent. So we'll just hold here for a couple more minutes. Now, after about 2 minutes, I will be coming out of the pose and ending the practice, this short 30-minute practice. But you're welcome to stay here much longer. If you have the time, just take advantage to really move into this meditative state of mind and body. Allow the body just to completely melt into the ground. Eyes can remain open, and if they are open, they're soft. You're just gazing upward, not really focusing on anything. Or you can just keep the eyes closed. Continue your journey inward. If your mind begins to wander, that's okay, very normal here. But if you notice that you are thinking about something, just pause and maybe just take a deep breath, which just brings you back to the present moment. Remember, stay here as long as you'd like. When you are ready to move, take 5 slow, deep breaths. A wonderful way to generate energy. Allow it to circulate through your entire body. This energy producing some movement in the body. When you're ready to move, carefully and slowly roll to one side of your body. And from here, just press yourself up to seated. Sitting up nice and tall with a lengthened spine. Your hands can remain in your lap or on your knees. And you can bring your hands to heart center. Let's take one more full and complete breath together. Inhale. Exhale. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow saying, Namaste. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.